golf fans, it's your boy Gsluke here for our round 2 prize picks targets for the Charles Schwab Challenge. In this quick video, we'll be going over my top 5 props here for Friday's slate, as well as some of the research I'm putting in to putting together my cards, just to give you an idea of what to expect here for the second round, and of course, so you can go out there and make some solid cards yourself. Just a quick review of round 1, which frankly wasn't our best stuff. Ended up going 2 for 5, which is not up to my standards, that's for dang sure, and certainly not up to the standards that we set last week with that 5 for 5 on Sunday. So looking for a bounce back here on Friday, and I can feel it, right? You know, you're going to have those bad rounds from time to time, but if there's somebody that's good at bouncing back, it is certainly me here on the channel. I have a pretty good track record of it from time to time. So looking to get that bounce back that we so much look forward to, and really looking forward to here to the second round. So a lot to talk about. Again, research here for round 1, some weather report here for round 2, and of course our top 5 props. So let's go ahead and get right on into it. Alrighty, we've got data golf on the screen, and you can see the scoring average for round 1 was a little bit over par, right? 0.78 for the entire day. If we break it down by the morning and afternoon wave, you can see there wasn't that much of a difference. In fact, just 17/100ths of a stroke difference between the morning and the afternoon. Maybe the one surprise, though, with round 1 is that the morning was harder than the afternoon. Now, the wind gusts were certainly a little bit more sustained towards the middle part of the day, also the PM hours, but in the morning, the receptiveness of the golf course actually played against the players. This is a relatively short golf course, so with some of the added length that the morning dew added, you can see it played a little bit more difficult. So I wouldn't expect that to continue, as all of that should have actually evaporated. It was extremely dry today, of course, very windy, so you're not going to have much moisture in these greens anymore. So for round 2, I would expect it to be relatively flat, especially considering the weather, which is pretty much pristine. You can see just 3 to 6 miles an hour of sustained winds for the entire day. And in fact, the wind gusts are pretty much non-existent. So for these players, anytime it's in the single digits in terms of sustained winds, they're going to go ahead and take it apart, particularly when there's no wind gusts to speak of. I mean, literally, the wind gusts match the sustained winds for the entire day. So I would expect this to be pretty much pristine conditions. I mean, the most gettable that you could possibly imagine for these players. And even though this is a hard golf course, again, that is why it played over par for day 1. Without wind, this is going to play under par. You're going to see some quite solid scoring out there. You could see a cut line that's -1, potentially even -2 at this type of golf course. And when you take a look at the prize picks board, you'll see that a lot of that is reflected. A lot of the lines for round 1 were closer to a 68.5, 69 when it came to strokes. You'll see guys like a Justin Thomas, Morikawa, Sky Scheffler are priced at 67 strokes now. If we head over to the birdie or better mark, you can see we have guys priced at 4.5 birdies now. Now, I don't think all of them are untouchable. In fact, one of the props over here on the right, of course, is at 4.5 birdies, but all of that is a result of the conditions in terms of the wind. I mean, it's non-existent. It's going to be as pristine as humanly imaginable for these golfers tomorrow. So let's go ahead and talk up the players, right? Let's talk about the guys that we're targeting. So first and foremost, the poster child, the guy on the thumbnail for this video, Jordan Spieth at 4.5 birdies. He's, of course, won this event before. He's had a ton of success around Colonial Country Club, including 4 top 10 finishes in his last 5 starts, and he has a ton of success on these greens. So for him to have only been -1 throughout the first round and have only made 4 birdies is in fact probably the worst he's going to do all week. This is a player who is pretty much an ATM at this golf course and is pretty much putted lights out every time he shows up here. And that was the only thing that he lacked today, because off the tee was a huge plus for Jordan Spieth. He hit plenty of greens and in fact missed 5 and then a 6-foot par putt today. Ended up missing a few putts for birdie from less than 10 feet as well. Could have easily been something in the 5 to 6 under par range. So for Jordan Spieth, we know the upside's there. We've seen him win at the RBC Heritage without a putter, let alone at a golf course where he's had so much success at in the past, and on a surface bent grass, which is one of his best surfaces to date that he has on the PGA Tour. I would expect a lot of positive regression for Jordan Spieth. And again, today he made 4 birdies, right? And that was in the quote-unquote more difficult wave, which didn't end up being the fact, right? We thought the morning would be a little bit easier. Ended up being the afternoon that was slightly easier. He was still dealing with all that wind, right? It was 10 to 15 miles an hour of wind. Tomorrow, in the morning specifically, it's pretty much going to be non-existent, and you're still going to have that slight moisture due to the morning dew. that makes the greens a little bit more receptive, right? It won't be as noticeable as today because a lot of that would have evaporated off, but whatever moisture is still left there will be present in the morning wave. So Jordan Spieth, I look for him to improve on an already solid day one. I have him projected for 5.6 birdies, which is well above the 4.5 mark that we have him at, making him one of my favorite plays on the slate, despite the price tag up there at the top of the board. Next up, we have Viktor Hovland at 4 birdies, another guy who played pretty solid golf today, shot 1 under par, but really wasn't able to take advantage of everything his game had to offer. He was hitting plenty of fairways, but the iron play, not quite as sharp as what we're used to seeing from the Norwegian. So has room for improvement there. The putter was pretty decent, made quite a few saves for par today that were impressive to say the least, but in terms of his game, we know it has to be sharp with the iron play, right? He's not the best around the green player, but that's why we're taking a look at birdies or better. Even if he has a little bit of struggles with the approach play, even if he makes 4 to 5 bogeys on the day, that is, of course, not going to affect us nearly as much as if we were taking something like a strokes, right? So that's why we're over here on the birdie mark. If he's aggressive with the irons, he's able to make a few putts tomorrow. I could easily see him improving on his performance because much like a Jordan Spieth, we'll be teeing off in the morning wave with the more receptive greens, the more pristine greens that don't have nearly as many scuff marks on them, freshly mown in the morning. That's another reason why players prefer to play in the AM wave as opposed to the PM wave. And an elite of the elite level player, right? These guys that are at 4 birdies, I consider taking the over in Viktor Hovland, of course, the guy that we have on the card, but a Sam Burns, a Tony Finau, a few other guys at 3.5, right? Like a Sungjae Im, Jason Kokrak at 4. I consider taking the over on pretty much all of these guys. I mean, tomorrow the conditions are going to be ripe for the taking, and more than anything, they're elite level players, right? I mean, there's some guys on the board here, I mean, particularly towards the bottom, right? We're talking about like a Tom Hoagie, I mean, Mito Pereira especially, Ricky Fowler, Beau Hossler, where you might not be as confident in those guys to go over their projections. Obviously, they're priced lower on the board as well. But with the elite of the elite tier guys, I mean, they're going to go out there and score tomorrow. In fact, some of the other guys at 4.5, I mean, even like a Scotty Scheffler, Colin Morikawa, for example, were also in consideration for overs here at the birdie or better board. So if you're looking to make your own card, right, you're not looking to just tail what I'm taking, right? I'd be taking a look at a lot of the guys here on the board. Most specifically, the guys that are solid with their birdie or better percentage, but also very solid with their shots game putting on the bent grass surface, which is the grass type that we have around Colonial Country Club. So we got with Jordan Spieth and Viktor Hovland. Also have Abraham Ancer at 3.5 birdies. He's a solid putter, right? Particularly on bent grass, which is what I really like about the play here, and particularly how he finished his round. He finished with 2 straight birdies. He has that momentum going into next round. Gets to wake up early, has a 9:37 a.m. tee time. It's going to have those receptive greens, also those pristine greens to go out there and try and take advantage of. So given the momentum, also same thing with Viktor Hovland. He finished with 2 straight birdies, and Jordan Spieth also had an incredible save on 18 to kind of finish his day. I like the headspace for all 3 of these players specifically. So maybe that's the X factor that led me to choose these 3 players in combination. But like I said, there's a lot of players on the birdie or better mark that I consider taking the over on for tomorrow. And now if you're going to take a fade stance, which of course we do here when we're trying to get to a 12.5x parlay, like we are able to do with our parlay here for Friday, I like looking at strokes because with strokes, I mean, you can open up double, triple bogeys onto the board. Whereas when you're fading birdies or better, it's a little bit more black and white, or it's a little bit less variance to it. You're trying to embrace some of the negative variance with these players when it comes to strokes, right? Because for Daniel Berger, on example, the reason why we're fading him, it comes down to health. He is dealing with a back injury. They were talking about it on the broadcast this afternoon. It's very apparent with his shots gained metrics. He is losing off the tees, hardly a positive in that category, which for him is losing over his baseline. He's a loser on approach, which is atrocious for Daniel Berger, and he's hardly a positive with both short game categories. So, I mean, he's losing to the field in terms of his shots gained, which is not what you want to see from somebody that's an elite level player, particularly somebody that's projected for a -2, where even though I do expect there to be scoring tomorrow, I mean, if you're injured, you don't have your game, you're not going to go out there and shoot 3-4 under par, right? It's still going to be a struggle to score if you don't have those assets. So that's really why I'm looking to fade Daniel Berger here. He deals with issues around the green. So when he tends to play a little bit hairy with his ball striking, he's not the best at saving himself and getting up and down. So I think that plays into our skill set there for somebody that we're trying to fade. And of course, if he shoots 2 under par, ends up pushing, right, it's not the end of the world, right? I have him projected for shooting a 69.8, so just 0.8 shots. 1.9 shots above what he has right there. So it's not a lock by any means, but still, favored clearly towards shooting something like a 70 or 69 on the slate, which is why I'm taking him there at that projection. Now, lastly, we have Ches Reavie at 69 strokes, a player who is clearly among the worst that we have on the board here. He's a short player. He does like the positional golf courses like what we have here at a Colonial. He did have a solid first round, but in terms of pedigree, I mean, it's a huge step down. I mean, even from a Beau Hossler down to a Ches Reavie, you're talking about a significant step down in terms of talent level. And the talent level drop from a Beau Hossler, I mean, up to somebody like a Mito Pereira is pretty significant. And then going from Mito Pereira up to pretty much the rest of the board at that point was an even bigger step up in terms of competition. So, I mean, if we're going to expect the field to shoot right around a 69, I mean, that's pretty much right around a Ches Reavie's prediction. And the reason why I'm taking the over here is his form over the last 50 measured rounds is about as atrocious as it's going to get. And now, while it's not, losses across the board, he's not really doing anything with the flat stick. He's among the worst putters that you see on tour for pretty much the last 2 or 3 years. He's been pretty atrocious with the flat stick. And off the tee, he's not going to gain a whole lot of strokes. And on approach, it's not like he's doing anything spectacular, right? He's a slight gainer in that category. Not enough to make me very confident in him here. So even though he did have the good first round, I do look to him to kind of come back to the field. If he shoots 1 under par, that will be a push here, but I have him projected for shooting a 70.1, so just slightly above par. I do expect the scoring average to be right around even par, so I have him projected right around the field average for tomorrow. But in terms of the over-under here on the Prize Picks app, taking the over is going to be the advantageous play. So somebody that I'm taking to try and take advantage of the 12x parlay that we can. And what I'm doing for the other cards is I'm going to be taking the top 3 props. I have a 4-leg power play with the top 3 and then Daniel Berger in it. And then I have another 4-leg power play with the top 3 and then a Ches Reavie in it. And then I also have another 5-legger here, but rather than Ches Reavie, I'm feeding Mito Pereira at 85.5. So a little bit of changes, a little bit of diversity that I added to my board there to kind of diversify myself, spread out the risk a little bit. I always recommend that you guys do that as well, right? Give yourselves a few different outs when it comes to your cards out there. Don't put all your eggs into one basket. And if I was taking a look at strokes, like I said, it would be primarily for fades. Because if I was going to look to target guys, it'd be primarily on the birdie or better mark. Now, if you're looking at greens in regulation or fairways hit, that is almost entirely on a case-by-case basis. So that's why I'm not touching on them here. In general, I think the lines for fairways and honestly greens are usually pretty accurate. Now, if you're going to get crazy wind or very easy conditions at a golf course that are strikingly different than where Prize Picks has them projected, then sometimes you can have an edge, but I mean, they have it projected pretty well here, right? 12.5 across the board. 12 is pretty fair for most of these players. And if you're talking about an edge here, it's just smaller than the margins that we have over for birdies or better. So that's what we're going to be going with there. And of course, you can't get screwed by fringes or intermediates when you're taking birdies or better, which can be definitely very frustrating with going that direction. All right, that's all I've got for the round 2 picks. Before you hop on out of here, go ahead and let me know what your favorite prop on the board is. Comment that down below. Also, let me know why you're hammering that prop. And as per usual, guys, we're going to have even more content throughout the weekend. So look for round 3 and round 4 videos. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of that content when it drops. I appreciate all the support. Make sure you like the video if you haven't already as well. I really look forward to watching this Friday round. Of course, it's cut day. So if you're playing DFS, you're playing here on Prize Picks. A little bit of a side sweat there to make sure you keep in mind as well. So have a great start to the weekend, everyone. I cannot wait to bring you guys a video here for round 3. Look forward to that, similar time to when this is coming out, right around 10 p.m. Eastern time. And let's get this cash. I'm feeling good about this one. I got over $300 in on the main card. So if we end up hitting, it will be a pretty epic day. So looking forward to it. See you guys next time.